Few performers are able to blend pop, folk, and country music with as strong of a lyric. In contrast, John Denver, an American singer and musician, effortlessly accomplished all of that and more. John Denver was one of the most well-known acoustic singers in the 1970s. Songs like Take Me Home, Country Roads, Leaving on a Jet Plane, and Annie's Song, which was influenced by his then-wife Annie Denver, were among his hits. All the speculation about the late country artist was put to rest when Denver, who is currently 78 years old, confirmed the reports concerning John Denver. It's no secret that the primary reason so many people are familiar with Annie Denver is because of her well-known ex-husband. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. And hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Now, back to the topic. What we were talking about was... It is also not surprising that the late country singer adored her so much because she is a very impressive lady who was formerly a school commissioner and a TV personality. Annie Martell was born on September 6, 1946, to Jim and Norma Martell of the United States. All three of her brothers, Ben, Terry, and Linda, were brought up as Christians. In Minnesota, she spent her entire childhood attending the local schools. After graduating from high school, she enrolled at Aldous College in St. which is how she got to know the well-known country artist. Denver was a member of the Chad Mitchell Trio at the time. In 1966, the two individuals who desired a relationship met. Martell, then a junior, caught Denver's attention right away. A few months after their initial encounter, they eventually crossed paths again. Martell discussed their initial encounter in greater detail in a 2022 episode of the Mobituaries with Moa program. She informed them that the Mitchell Trio was playing with the man she would marry. He then joined a group of individuals playing guitar while they put on a ridiculous little show. According to Martell, she was the girl who carried the signs across the stage between Acts 1 and 2. She claimed that her ex-husband can vividly recall her outfit from that day, which included penny shoes, a flannel shirt, and blue trousers. They started writing each other letters and became friends. Before they knew it, on June 9, 1967, they were both walking down the aisle and getting married. After just 9 months of courtship, the pair immediately announced their impending marriage. One of John Denver's best-known songs is Annie's Song. This song introduced Annie Martell, now Mrs. Denver, to the public. It's intriguing how the song combines all of John Denver's interests from that era. How much he cherishes his wife, music, and the land above anything. In this song, Annie Denver just revealed to us what we had all been waiting to hear about John Denver. Even at the age of 78, the widow still seems to grieve whenever she hears this song. In addition to this song, Annie Denver stated that, perhaps Love, sung by her ex-husband alongside Placido Domingo, is her other favorite. When they wrote the song, were they truthful with one another? Contrary to popular belief, John Denver penned Annie's Song following a life-altering incident. As you can see, the country folk singer's career took a significant turn in 1971 when he released Take Me Home, Country Roads. However, certain other songs, such as Annie's Song, also influenced his career. The pair then went camping in Aspen, Colorado, with a few friends. Denver quickly fell in love with the area since he enjoyed the outdoors. It also served as the inspiration for Rocky Mountain High, another of his successes. At last, Denver and his spouse settled down where they reared their children and constructed a home. However, John Denver was so struck by what he witnessed that he hurried home on a lovely day in 1973. Annie Denver claims that during one of their several arguments, when they decided to set aside their disagreements and get along, her husband penned it. When John Denver departed to go skiing, he was feeling upbeat. He was sitting on the Ajax chair on Aspen Mountain when the song occurred to him. As soon as he arrived home, he put it in writing. It took less than 10 minutes to complete. It was a love song at first that he gave me. To him, however, it was somewhat like a prayer. The couple didn't have any biological children, but they adopted a son and a daughter who they adored, and Annie Denver remarked, "It's nice to know that this song will always be a reminder of how much she loved John Denver." Anna Kate and Zachary John are their names. Unfortunately, they didn't last long in love. The Denvers filed for divorce in 1982, 15 years after they were married. Every narrative has two sides, and we'll examine the reasons for each group's dissolution. The country music star believes that his relationship with his wife has been significantly impacted by his career as an artist. They even said at one time that during the previous few years of their relationship, it appeared as though they were drifting apart. Being a well-known vocalist in his heyday, John Denver had to travel frequently for performances. He got divorced for this reason as well. On the Russell Hardy Show in 1983, Denver stated, "I think my success and my dedication to the work that I do had an effect on Annie and my relationship." He went on to say, "I believe we've been drifting apart for the past 4, 5, or 6 years. And a portion of it was due to the amount of time we spent apart, the problems I had during that time, and how inflexible we were when we reconciled regarding integrating the other person's life into our own." She believed that his popularity and all that accompanied it were harmful to the extent that she had lost her identity and had forgotten who she was, according to John Denver's wife, who claims that they split up because they were too young and immature to manage his abrupt descent to stardom. Despite their disagreements, they were able to conclude their relationship amicably. While John Denver remarried, she remains unmarried. Do you understand? Annie Martell is still living in her Colorado home with her children and grandchildren, therefore the allegations that she has passed away are untrue. Even though they were only together for a little period of time, divorces between two people rarely end amicably. After the divorce, Annie Martell and her ex-husband remained friends. This is somewhat unexpected, particularly in light of everything she has learned about her ex-husband's issues, particularly his death, which we will discuss later. Since we've already discussed Annie Martell Denver, let's move on to John Denver, her ex-husband. On December 31, 1943, Henry John Duchendorf Jr. was born. In Roswell, New Mexico, he rose to fame as the legendary country music artist John Denver. Captain Henry John Duchendorf Sr. was his father, while Emma Louise was his mother. His father was an excellent pilot who received numerous honors and excellent grades. Denver recalled his father as a harsh man who didn't demonstrate love for his children when he was younger. Additionally, the family relocated frequently due to the father's work. The fact that their family moved around a lot made Denver's shyness worse. Every time he traveled somewhere new, he struggled to fit in and make friends. His father was stationed in Tucson, Arizona, from 1951 to 1959, during which time the family lived there. They had never stayed in one location for so long. When he was 11 years old, his grandmother gave him an acoustic guitar. He picked it up on his own. He continued to perform, and by the time he was a college student, he was regarded as talented enough to perform at local clubs and gigs. Before the New Christy Minstrels founder, Randy Sparks, advised him to change his name to something more palatable, he continued to use his given name. After that, he studied design at Texas Tech University in Lubbock and performed music under the name John Denver. At the time, Denver sang and played guitar in a folk music group. In 1963, he dropped out of school and moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in music. Denver was performing in folk clubs at the time. He wouldn't take Chad Mitchell's spot in the Chad Mitchell Trio for another 2 years. To honor the three members, John Denver, David Boise, and Michael Johnson, the name was eventually altered to Denver, Boise, and Johnson. A couple more years later, Denver left the band to pursue a solo career. Rhymes and Reasons, his debut album, was released by R.C. DeLay Records in 1969. He previously self-produced a collection of his tracks. After listening to Babe I Hate to Go, producer Milt Oken expressed interest in collaborating with him on further songs. Around the same time that Oken took over as manager of Denver, it was renamed what we now know, Leaving on a Jet Plane. The song became well known and even reached the top of the Billboard Hot 100 thanks to the folk quartet Peter, Paul, and Mary. Denver's remix also peaked at the top of the U.S. Cashbox list in December 1969. Many people are unaware that John Denver did the majority of his own music promotion. He gave free performances, toured the Midwest, and even offered to play for free at local venues. He may even play a song or two during the event, and he also listened to radio stations that ridiculed him since they knew he penned "Leaving on a Jet Plane." As he grew older, the country singer's devoted following remained strong because to all of these factors. Sales of John Denver's subsequent album, Poems, Prayers, and Promises, which was released in 1971, exceeded those of his debut. The album's songs, including "Take Me Home," "Country Roads," reached the top of the charts. We've already discussed how Denver contributed to local recognition, but Jerry Weintraub, Denver's new manager, also played a significant role in the success of this album. Weintraub made it possible for additional radio stations to play his songs, expanding his audience. With hits like "Rocky Mountain High," "Sunshine on My Shoulders," "Thank God I'm a Country Boy," and "Annie's Song," John Denver gained a lot of fans in the early 1970s. Weintraub also made sure he had time on local TV by appearing on as many guest shows as he could until he eventually began hosting his own shows. Over 60 million people saw his holiday spectacular, Rocky Mountain Christmas, which at the time was ABC's most watched program. The singer quickly had his own BBC show, The John Denver Show, because of how popular he was. It goes without saying that the artist also received other significant honors, including multiple Grammys and American Music Awards. John Denver concentrated on carrying out more charitable endeavors and environmental conservation efforts when his notoriety started to wane in the late 1970s. He donated $1 to the Aspen Valley Hospital and sang to help collect money for the Aspen Camp School for the Deaf. The capital is contested by 7 million people. In Aspen, Colorado, he also owns the 450-acre Windstar Land Conservancy. This served as his home, a wildlife sanctuary, and an environmental education center. As we well know, Denver wed Annie Martell before divorcing her after 15 years. We didn't mention anything at the time, but when their assets were divided up, something really odd occurred. Denver then revealed to her that he was so furious that he attempted to force them to leave by severing their marriage bed in two with a chainsaw. However, some close to him claim that he did it as payback for Martell raising several of their Aspen family trees. A few more years later, in 1985, Denver met his second wife, Cassandra Delaney, an Australian actress. After only a few years of dating, he married her in 1988 after meeting her in Sydney. The following year, a girl named Jessie Bell was born. In Aspen, she moved in with Denver. However, Denver's marriage to Delaney ended along with his marriage to Annie Martell. They spent much less time together. They divorced in 1991, and the celebrity even referred to her ex-husband as a cruel tyrant. Although no one can be certain, many believe that Denver's divorce from his second wife was the reason for his issues in later life. He was originally charged with driving under the influence in 1992. He was placed on probation after he admitted to driving under the influence the following year after he collided with a tree in his Porsche. Following his conviction for drunk driving, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, ordered him to abstain from alcohol if he wished to continue operating aircraft. He didn't make it through, which is unfortunate. Denver was medically unable of operating an aircraft the next year. Although he gave off the impression of being a kind person, John Denver's life was filled with many issues, which is why he sought solace in drugs and alcohol. Despite his outward appearance, he was truly afraid and experienced periods of despair. He also publicly admitted to using marijuana and LSD while composing Rocky Mountain High, and he received a lot of criticism for being dishonest and a poor alcoholic. Compared to his father, who earned numerous air medals, John Denver was more knowledgeable about flying. He was even authorized to do it. John Denver has a strong passion for flying and even participated in a VH1 promotion contest. How, therefore, did such a good man pass away so tragically? Had his aircraft been damaged in any way? Listen to learn. It's crucial to understand what airplanes are and how they operate before we can dig deeper into this. Like everything else, an airplane is built with strength and safety in mind. However, unlike a car, you can't really stop when you catch fire, can you? A small cloud of gray smoke from the engine might swiftly turn into a fire by the time the plane stopped, which would take more than 2 minutes. In this instance, an airplane's cockpit fuel shut-off button allows the fire to extinguish and prevents it from spreading, allowing the pilot to choose a safe landing spot. John Denver was piloting a light home-built aircraft, the Rutan Long Easy, when it crashed into Monterey Bay close to Pacific Grove, California, on October 12, 1997. The crash claimed his life. His age was 53. The cause of the crash was the subject of numerous theories and conspiracies. One of the most prevalent is positioning the fuel selection valve incorrectly, behind the pilot's left shoulder. It had poor handling since the pilot would have to release all controls in order to shut off the valve. In addition, there is his fuel. Some indicators indicated if he was running low on fuel, but because they were non-linear and without markings, it was difficult to determine if he had very little left. The country musician ultimately perished as a result of his jet colliding with the ocean due to poor construction. However, the country singer failed to examine and adhere to other safety precautions, and the plane's interface was only one factor contributing to the overall catastrophe. John Denver lost everything because of what he did. He is still honored and remembered for the songs he wrote and the excellent things he did that inspired and transformed people's lives, despite his tragic conclusion. After appearing in a Super Bowl commercial, his song, Country Roads, Take Me Home, peaked at #1 on the Billboard list this year. Additionally, App Cinemas will screen a tribute to the country musician on July 10th. This demonstrates how timeless and significant his songs are even now.